Spear Catalyst for open world. This is the build you all asked for, and this is what you get today. A really strong self-buffing Spear Catalyst build that is really fun to play in the open world and works very well in solo scenarios, but also in group scenarios. It's not the best crazy strong solo build that can solo bounties or stuff, but it is very strong in some open world meta events and that kind of stuff where you can't guarantee boon uptime, and you can fill the role of being a really good DPS from range while also having nice supportive capabilities with boons as well. So if you're intrigued by this, be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing. As always, special shout out to my dear supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon that help me keep the lights on. And now without much further ado, let's jump straight in. Credits for the original build to Snowcrows. Be sure to check out the link in the description to see a written guide for this build. I just want to promote this amazing build and give you my take and my explanations on it. With that much said, let's start with the gear. The gear is really straightforward. You want to go for full Berserker gear with Superior Rune of the Dragon Hunter. Every single piece of your gear, weapons, armor, trinkets should be Berserker, with the exception of your back piece. Your back piece should be Assassins. That's the only important part. Everything else, full Berserker. In the description is also a link to a full exotic version. Full Berserker works perfectly fine as well. For your relic, I would go with Relic of Fireworks. It's the most offensive option. Really easy to upkeep, really strong. If you don't want to use a damage relic or you want to get some healing, then you can easily go and swap that to Relic of Sakiros. Relic of Sakiros is a very valid alternative because it gives you a very nice healing buff. Just 4% of the damage you deal is actually converted into healing, and that's really nice. You deal a lot of damage, so you get actually quite nice passive healing from that. Of course, you lose a little bit of damage. Keep that in mind. In some fights, it's necessary to heal yourself. Then, of course, you use a spear, but you don't have to use the spear. You can also use Scepter Dagger if you wanted to. They would be both Berserker with Superior Sigil of Force and Sigil of Impact. Spear is the one that all you all ask for. That's why you play Spear with this build, but you can easily play also with Scepter Dagger, and you actually deal, in some circumstances, even more damage than with the Spear. Now, let's talk about the Consumables. So for the Consumables, it's pretty straightforward as well. You want to go with Superior Sharpening Stones or something of similar stats for the Utility Consumable slot, and for the food slot, you want to go with Peppercorn Crusted Sweet Steaks just for some damage reduction and some power and ferocity, because in open world you just want to get a little bit less damage. Of course, if you want to win max even more damage, you can easily go for Cilantro Lime Sweet Steaks for some lifesteal, but you lose the minus 10% income and damage reduction. So I would say definitely that one recommended. If you can't get the Ascended food yet, I would go with Bowl of Sweet and Spicy Butternut Sword Soup. It loses the 10% damage reduction, but still worthwhile. Before I go to the trades, I want to mention, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like. That helps out my channel a bunch. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. But now let's talk about the trades. So for the trades, you want to go Fire, Air, and Catalyst. In Fire, you get a lot of nice damage multipliers, more power in Fire. You get some Fire Aura. You get less recharge on your Fire weapon skills and deal more damage to burning foes. Then you take Burning Fire, so you passively cleanse 3 conditions when you get 3 conditions on you every 40 seconds. That's quite nice in the open world. If you get some random conditions, you cleanse them. If you want to get a little bit more damage, you can go for Burning Precision, but it's not like crazy damage increase. Then you use Power Overwhelming, just more power, really good. And then you use Persisting Flames for some nice damage buff, really, really strong. If you can't upkeep the Might for whatever reason, you can go to Pyromancer's Puissance, but I would recommend Persisting Flames all the time. And then you have Air. Air is your really nice damaging trade line, but also gives some nice utility. So you get more crit chance and more movement speed. You get some passive damage when you swap to Air. You get more ferocity, and your Air skills have reduced recharge. And then you take Always Storm Soul for more damage increase against disabled or defiant foes, and the outgoing stun duration is increased. It's also quite nice for break bust. So, and then you make the first decision. For the most damaging one, you would go with Ferocious Winds for more ferocity based off your precision. That's really, really potent. But if you want to make it more utility based, which in the open world can be really good, you get Super Speed Rather Tune into Air, which is really cool, because if you use Fresh Air, you actually get a lot of super speed access. And that means that you actually get to move around really fast with all the time swapping to Air, another element swapping back to Air because it resets itself if you crit and gives you a ferocity buff. And then you get super speed, so you can run around really fast. So that's the combo that I would recommend if you play Scepter for sure. Even on Spear, it can be very worthwhile. But if you want to go for more damage, you would go for Ferocious Winds and you would take Bolt to the Heart. Bolt to the Heart is just a really big damage increase if the target is below 50%, but even with Fresh Air, Ferocious Winds can be really worthwhile as well. So switch around to what you actually find is the best playstyle for you. It's not like written in stone. And then Catalyst, of course, gives you access to your Shade Sphere. Shade Sphere with the skills gives a lot with the traits here gives a lot of quickness whenever you drop it, but also Aegis, Fury, Vigor, Might to your allies as well, and the boons last longer, and you can use them while you have any other Jade Spheres active and get even energy with that. It's really, really potent, really strong. And then of course you take Vicious Empowerment, so that you, whenever you immobilize or disable a foe, you get Might and Elemental Empowerment, which gives you passive stacks to all gear stats. That's really potent because then you can easily get that to 10 stacks and get the perfect 100% crit rate with that. Of course, whenever you use a combo in a combo field, you actually get the aura of depending on your attunement. That's really nice as well, because for example, Magnetic Aura and Shocking Aura and even Frost Aura can be really defensive, so that keep that in mind. But in general, the important thing about the Jade Sphere is that it gives boons, and it is also an instant cast combo field, so you can cast it while, for example, using a blast finisher or something and get some nice healing in water, or get some nice might stacking in fire, for example. Let's quickly cover the skills. Like I already mentioned, the Jade Sphere is really important, but on fire you have really nice damaging skills from range. This is a blast finish as well. This is empowering the next spear skill, so keep that in mind. Use it then with the 4 or the 2 to actually get more damage. The 4 skill is also a very important damaging skill, and of course every time the 5 skill in each element is an etching. That means that you put it down and then you have to empower it by using a special number of skills, and then the attack that you can get after that, the flip over skill, will be strong. And this one is really nice because it's obviously also power damage scaling attack, because fire attacks do that. So you put it down, use some fire skills, and then you get the Volcano, which is a nice big damaging skill. AoE does a lot of damage. So you would always try to use your 5 skill first. That's the whole rotation of this build. In Spear, would always putting down the 5 skill and then using your other skills, especially the damaging skills, of course, to get the Volcano, and then you can use it again to make the damage and swap to another element. In fire, it's a fire field. In water, it's a water field to heal, and all of them deal damage, of course. The Etching's final attack, and of course the 3 skill is also always a utility skill, so this one here heals, and is also a Condi Cleanse and an evade, so really, really nice. This is some nice damage again. The 4 skill is some nice pull and also damage. And then in air, you again have a lightning field and nice damage on the, if it's a flip over skill, that's a nice CC again, and the blast finisher. The 2 skill is again, that is some nice damage, and the 3 skill is again utility because it actually gives you more crit. It's not that important, but it gives super speed on an instant cast, so you can run around faster, which is really nice in open world, of course. And then you have here nice stability axis. You get some nice damage on the 4 skill here with the Fisher, and you also get some nice barrier and CC here on this one. That's quite nice. And more damage on the 2 skill. So in general, always use the 5 skill first when you swap to an attunement, and use all the other skills, and then when the flip over skill happens, you can use it. So that's the general rotation. If you run the Scepter variant, you have a lot of defensive skills in there. So for example, barrier with rock barrier, you have some blind here, you have some nice CC and damage. In air, you have some nice CC and damage as well with the 3 and the 5 skill. The 4 skill is some nice utility because to reposition, it's really long ranged attack. Water attunement is really good on Scepter as well because you have like 3 healing skills. The 3 skill you can heal twice, and the cleansing wave heals, and then the frost aura of course gives also nice aura and some nice chill on the 2 skill. And then you have really potent attacks with a lot of blast finish on the 2 and 3, and also really strong damage in fire. So I would say both variants work. Just go for the weapon that you enjoy. Spear has more range, so that can be really nice, and a bit more AoE, so a really fun build to play. Let's talk about the utility skills next, and healing skill. For the healing skill, I would go for Cliff of Elemental Harmony, just a really, really potent heal. Almost half your health, really strong. If you need Condi Cleanses, you can go for Soothing Water, or even Eternal Renewal, or even for Blast Finish, Arcane Brilliance. There are many ways to do it. Even the Signet can be nice for some passive healing. Then you would always use Cliff of Elementalist, use it in air or fire for damage or CC, respectively, or use it in water if you need a big amount of cleanse and healing. You could also use Elemental Celerity if you want to really go crazy and spam one attunement's skills, but I would say that's the best damaging skill. Then always use Signet of Fire for some passive crit chance. I would never activate it. Then use Firestorm or Lightning Storm or whatever element you are in. Typically I would use it in air for the most amount of damage and vulnerability, but you can also use it in fire or even in earth for some nice blind AoE, which can be helpful in the open world to just not get that much damage from mobs. And then you use Relentless Fire for some nice damage increase. Try to use it in your fire sphere, because then it will have a longer duration. You can of course swap to Lightning Flash for some repositioning. You can go for Armor of Earth for some nice ability and Panic Button, or even Mist Form if you need some invulnerability. If you need more damage, you can go for Shattering Eyes, or you can go for more CC with Arcane Wave. And if you wanted to, you can even go with the new skill Arcane Echo to actually recharge one of your weapon skills instantly. But there are many options. Like I said, the rotation of this build is quite straightforward. You would always go and use your 5 skill on Spear and use all your other skills on this attunement, and then use your 5 skill again and swap to another attunement. Of course, use your Jade Spheres off cooldown because they provide nice boons, and then typically cycle through the attunements. Doesn't depend if you're on Scepter or Spear, you would always start with Fire and go into Air, then you go into Earth and go back into Air because you crit, then you go back into Water and back into Air, and then you would repeat that loop. Would always dip into Air attunement after each element to get the proc of Fresh Air and use the attacks there and go back. This will be working way better on Scepter than it will be on Spear, so on Spear I would recommend Bolt to the Heart most of the times, but then your rotation would just go through all the elements. You would start in Fire, would go into Air, would go into Water and Earth if you need more healing and stuff, and go back into Fire and repeat that loop. So that would be a bit more straightforward. If you run Fresh Air, then you would do the same as you would with Scepter and always use Fire, Air, Earth, Air, Water, Air, and go back to Fire. That's the whole idea of the build. In general, this build works really well in open world because it provides a lot of utility and has some nice damage, so I can highly recommend it. It's really fun. I hope you enjoyed this build as much as I do. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks again to all my supporters, and all the credits for the build to Snowcrows. Be sure to check out the description below for their website. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.